happens, you know?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. But I'm remembering before anyone gets in here, maybe. And you're not gonna tell.
I mean, unless you gonna make me.
Alright, it's all... Yeah, there we go. It's all good now. Let me just tweet out real quick that I'm doing the shit. Doing the thing.
I'm just getting my app ready so I can read the chat while talking.
Hell yeah. Alright, Argmates, Alexi, we're gonna... Yeah, I'm gonna be doing some chill treasure hunting, and I've got a guest here, a wily German who is gonna talk about accessibility in games, or perhaps the absence thereof. We'll see. Just getting everything all set up here. The Skittles cam is activated. She's sleeping in her bed on the top left there. She's probably going to be doing that the whole time.
I'm just confused because I seemingly can't find you in my list.
Oh.
This is... here it is. This is not your fault, it's just that sometimes things are weird.
Yeah, no, apps they don't really play by the rules, you see. Does Skittles like head scritches? Yes. She loves them. And she likes tummy scritches, but she will try to get you as well. Kind of like a cat. And when she's sleepy, I've found that she likes chin scritches. Only when she's sleepy, though. Not going to be able to get in there when she's lively and hopping around. Yeah, she's very powerful.
Ah, yes. Wait.
Hmm?
The stream doesn't show up a cam. Skittles cam is not on the stream.
Hey, what the fuck? Where'd it go? Well, hang on.
I don't know where it would go.
How about now?
Now it's there.
Alright. Yeah, I fucked up.
Latency is on point today.
Oh, good. There we go. Oops. I accidentally ate some fucking worms in the game when I clicked back onto it. I'm gonna throw up on this guy, probably. Skittles detected. That's right. We got the Skittles cam. We're set up. I'm throwing up on this man who's just trying to enjoy his drink in the tavern here, and I think he might be having a mild technical difficulty, but I am joined by KnightmareAlpha to discuss accessibility in video games.
Yeah, I'm here.
You are here.
I'm here.
How are things going with the app you're trying to get on there?
It's okay. It works now pretty fine.
Okay.
It just took some time to adjust it. It's just maps on. It's one of these problems that you have with mobile devices and the apps they're on. They're very weird. I don't know where this comes from, but sometimes I'm not sure what happens. Like my YouTube app decided to fail on me today already. So I don't know. I don't usually use apps on my phone. I prefer to do everything on my desktop, but you know.
Yeah, I've found that the user friendliness of of phone apps and stuff has made things sort of harder to like troubleshoot or fix when something's fucked up. You know what I mean?
Yes. Oh, they are simple enough that closing the application and restarting it usually fixes the problem.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it happens. So
Absolutely.
how was your day?
My day's been pretty good. I worked a bit on the. I'm just sort of editing the upcoming video, and then I don't think I actually did anything else. I did that and had breakfast.
Okay, I mean,
Very
sure.
simple day.
Yeah, I also didn't do much today. Most of the stuff was yesterday. Did a lot of laundry, you know.
Oh hell yeah, man! You gotta keep those clothes clean. You don't want to be a nasty little gremlin. You don't want that.
Nah, I don't want to.
Nah.
On the flip side, I've already been recruited by my grandma to wash her to wash her stuff because her washing machine is not that large, and she's like, "Yeah, my stuff," and I'm like, "Okay."
So you're getting fucking so you've got like a bigger washing machine, so you're getting like you're the laundry mule for the family. Is that what's going on here?
I mean, not regularly. It's just that my parents would never wash something like that for my grandma because she they just never would want to do that. It's not that closeness, and I'm like, yeah, I'm here. I can do that. So yeah, just okay. Got roped into that.
Damn.
But hey, she paid for the washing machine partially, so I mean, I have to share the property at least a little bit.
Yeah, okay. I guess that's fairly reasonable. I
But here's
guess.
but here we see a big problem with the way capital is distributed. You know, people like me who don't make much money have to rely on larger investments from others, and suddenly we cannot even control our own commodities anymore and have to deal with outside influences.
Damn, that's true.
It's
That
like,
is true.
even in the family, we cannot escape capitalism.
Even in the family, you're just trying to chill. You're just trying to have a fucking Pepsi, and you got to do everyone's fucking laundry. It's just like Marx warned.
Yes, if you accept the loaned money of others, they will make you do their laundry. That's clearly, I think that's Capital Volume 3.
Engels was always making him do the laundry because he was such a fucking bum. That's
What is weird because Engels was the factory owner, so it's weird.
mm,
But
don't be a factory owner, folks at home, if you can avoid it. What's this weird little island? I don't fucking know.
but yeah.
Other than being forced at gunpoint to do other people's laundry. How things been? Everything else good?
Yeah, mostly I would say so. I already kind of talked about the topic with a friend today about what we have to talk about now. So I'm a little bit more in the material, so to speak.
Good. All right. As long as you're not, long as you're not giving up all your best material on the off stream, we can't be having that. Everything
I mean,
must be ground down into content. You understand?
I know, but let's be honest, it doesn't matter. I mean, we're all socialists here, we repeat things all the time because people just don't want to listen, so we have to repeat it all over again.
Yeah, that's a lot of my life.
It's like, yeah, they don't want to listen. It's like, what does it mean? What does it mean to own the means of production? And I'm like, really? Do I have to explain this again? It's like, always happens, so it's not a problem. I can repeat myself in a way like this. The problem that I have rather is that I might, confuse that I said something already. So if I miss something, I apologize. But I try to keep it real.
Hey, that's fun. We're all about keeping it real. on the stream. Yeah, no, that's cool, man. I'm just looking at my little map here for islands full of sweet treasury juice. Why don't we talk a bit about fucking accessibility in video games, which I should, state to be in fuck, what's the word? In keeping with Twitch's policies of not encouraging illegal activity. Don't actually play video games. They are illegal. They are banned.
Yeah. It's,
Yeah.
Keep that to the professionals. We
Yeah.
are trained professionals in that field, so keep that to us.
Yeah, like me. You can't just come in here and play a game, all right? Those gates have to be kept.
You have to acquire a license first, for
Yeah.
playing video games.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously you have to display a certain. You have to be able to meet certain standards, and be able to talk to another human being without just like spewing breadcrumbs and having a panic attack. You just can't play games if you can't do that.
Yeah.
It sucks.
But that's how it is.
That's how it is, yeah. Also, no disableds. Not allowed to play video games if you're disabled.
I mean, if we look at the industry and how much they seemingly ignore disabled people, yeah, you could come to that conclusion.
Yeah, exactly.
It's one of these clear problems that you have. It's like on the one hand you have of course the classic conformity problem that you have with like all media. There wants to pressure you into a certain conformity and say like we have to appeal to the market and what's the masses, and this of course leads to some of that thinking process. But it's not always that. Developers are not just all heartless capitalists. They just operate in the system.
Mm-hmm.
Many of them are, how shall I say, just the victims of a lack of perspective. Like it's this typical system. It's like to ask the simple question of why are traffic lights red, yellow, and green, and because we have that. This is just like the background, but this is completely different for a person that is colorblind.
Yeah.
You cannot make most of these arguments because they don't see that. They cannot comprehend this. You can say, oh, red is a signal color. And you say, like, but I'm colorblind. I don't even know what red is.
Mm-hmm.
How can it be a signal color that everybody understands when I cannot even see it or distinguish it?
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is kind of one of these clear problems that you have to deal with when it comes when it even comes to the understanding of media in the first place. And even worse, if you have like you develop a video game and say like I want to target the mass market audience, and you talk about certain topics and realize maybe a few people will not be able to play this at all. Like it's like making a Dark Souls game about disability but forgetting the accessibility options.
Yeah.
That is like one of the most narrow-minded things that could happen.
Mm-hmm.
But the worst part is I've seen sometimes some things like that where it's like, yeah, we are like I've seen anti-capitalist games with very expensive DLC.
Yeah, sure.
I was like, what do I make of this?
Yeah, it seems like there's often a gulf between perhaps the writers and the whoever's like actually managing the business.
Yeah, and this is always kind of a problem because in a way is even if you want to make anti-capitalist art, you often have, if it is an expensive or large-scale product, you have to ask somebody to do so. So you either have to conform or get somebody who doesn't notice what you want to do.
Yeah,
Who you can either fake this or make it as subtle as possible. That's kind of one of the things that I realized is maybe why a lot of media has to be very subtle about its theming and ideas, because they want to dance a little bit around that so that the producers don't get what they want to say. I mean, I think Paula Hofmat talked about it, how he even got Starship Troopers made, and the only reason he got it made in that way how it is was because there was a change in leadership and he could play that politics card a little bit better in that case. So
Right.
as like if it's mostly accidents or really hard working around to even get something to work like this, I can only imagine how hard it can be to even get a movement for disability options in video games. Like it's really hard unless your publisher is already into that. And as of now, the worst part about this is like the only few publishers who are really big on options for disability for disabled people is like EA, Microsoft, and sometimes Ubisoft. And that's
Right.
kind of and that's kind of scary to me because we're talking about some of the largest and most heartless corporations in the world
Mm-hmm.
who will probably only use that for how shall I say? They probably just use this to advance their causes. They're just saying like, oh, we do that for popularity reasons. You know, we can't often see this cynical point. It's like, oh, we want games for everyone
Mm-hmm.
because that's it. But that's just reappropriating a narrative because they often don't really believe that. It's like, I mean, you just have to look at people like Bill Gates who seemingly do not comprehend what vaccination and the extermination of sickness and stuff like that helps. How he does not comprehend this at all or doesn't want to see it because in the end it's only about performative action. Because if you really want to do something about that, he could do so. He has the money and the funds, but it's
Yeah.
not about that. It's a popularity game often. And in that kind of systematic problem is where we as regular people have to often just hope that it goes the right way
Mm-hmm.
and not the other way around, where it can be like, oh no, this is like, we didn't get this, or they just abandoned this, or they just said, no, this is not our standard anymore. We just leave it here, and that's always the threat. That's the reason why we can't really rely on large corporations to do this kind of thing in a general sense, because we will be eventually rationalized out of a debate because we don't make up the majority of people, and therefore our options are not important or valid. Because hey,
Yeah.
it was nice when it was advancing our PR, but nowadays it's just as long as we have to put effort and money into it, it's something that we should not do. And it's very clear to me that in many cases it's just that. It's nice that we get these options, but it's more like we take them where we can get them
Mm-hmm.
because the rest of the market doesn't look like that. I mean, the most basic option you could offer for a disabled person in any kind of video game space is just like reconfigurable buttons, like the simple fact that, oh, maybe I don't want that it is on A, I want it on B.
Yeah.
That's the most simplest of accessibility options you can have in. And the worst part is this isn't even commonplace praxis at all in the video game industry. You can have games that refuse to be remapped just because, well, because nobody thought about that.
Yeah, and even
And
beyond accessibility, like just that just seems like a basic quality of life thing anyway. Like a lot of people will just have like layouts they prefer, you know?
yeah,
It's a basic
it's
fucking thing. It's so wild how rare it is.
it's kind of like this. I mean, one of the best examples for this that I have uh, is like Capcom produces Devil May Cry games. I like Devil May Cry games, but Devil May Cry games have button remapping completely.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it would be pretty hard for me to play games like Devil May Cry 4, where I had to change it because I prefer the lock on a different button. Just
Yeah.
simple as that,
Yeah.
because it's just more comfortable for me to do so.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't have the option if they wouldn't give it to me, and it's kind of weird. But this is one of the basic options that is so often not given, and this extends to other people. Like, uh, consider how many people are left-handed and how little left-handed support there is
Oh
in
yeah,
the whole business.
I'm left-handed and I've just
Yeah,
learned how to like do right-handed stuff because it just doesn't fucking exist for the most part.
yeah, and it's kind of disgusting because it's actually relatively easy to remap it just on the other side of a controller. I mean,
Yeah.
we are already mirroring these things anyway. So what would stop me to put like the X button on the down on the D-pad? What would really do that? And I can switch out the sticks in the middle and just say, oh yeah, but now the left stick is responsible for that and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah.
And and it's just, why isn't this a thing? I remember this is actually kind of important for in Germany. We have a I remember this happening like 10 years ago. It was there a German video game journalist who was regularly on a TV show, had a very large angry segment on his show where he complained about the lack of left-handed support. And that guy had been in the business for 15 years at that point, and still, God, he was really pissed.
Right.
And I can only imagine how it is now. There it still hasn't changed at all.
Yeah.
It's just like this must be really frustrating, and it's just so weird considering also that we're talking about the third largest video game market in the world, and these voices are just continually ignored. We
Yeah.
want these options, we have these options, and this is kind of weird. But what's weirder is that there's also a side narrative that kind of developed from that,
Yeah.
about the difficulty of video games in that, because whenever you talk about accessibility options in video games, and a lot of people start suddenly talking about how difficult games have to be, and you can always see that. I think Game Maker's Toolkit had a series on videos about accessibility in video games relatively recently.
Right.
Really, really good series. I can recommend this. But then I went to the comment section of these videos. They were filled with toxic nonsense about how this will erode video game difficulty and how it will make terrible things and what kind of shit Celeste of a game is. And I'm like, really? You don't see the upsides of a customizable setup like this? You really don't know how you can make, with accessibility options, your games even harder if you crave that? Like, is that something that they don't comprehend? And it's just, I don't know if it's just toxic gamer discourse or if it's just really the fact how the world is seen. And it's always coming back. It's always coming back to how would I say to that Gamergate situation. Like how Gamergate sees things and how their base assumptions are, and how this interacts with them, and they don't want to see other people like that because that would mean we are customers and have to be served and all that.
Yeah.
And it's just weird that they're alienating us and other people just so they can feel better, so they can have this get good mentality. And I'm like, I have nothing against difficult video games, but if it's always bleeding into that Dark Souls should have an easy mode discussion, then I'm like, that's just so weird to me. That feels very exclusionary to the needs that people have. Like, how does this relate? And it also leads into this essential question of, if we acquire a piece of medium, should we be able to experience it?
Yeah.
That's a core principle question, because capitalism would say yes, but how do we see that from an art standpoint? Because video games are very different. Like if I buy a book, that I can read that. I can read everything in that book. I can experience it all, unless it's like in a different language or something like that. That doesn't mean I will understand what's going on in the narrative. I'm not experiencing the topics or something like that. But I could experience it completely.
Yeah.
For video game, this is a bit different, because if I cannot actually make it through the game, and I'm not actually experiencing it in that sense, unless not experiencing is the intended experience. But I can judge that because I'm not the creator of it. I cannot judge on the intent. I could read up, and it's like, yeah, I said, and then it's like, yeah, you only about to where the developer says like, no, you're only to experience the first 4 hours. The rest is just endless suffering. You're not actually about to go through that. And I could see that, but usually we don't talk about that. Like we can't say this. The idea of intended difficulty is not something we really talk about. This has only been a recent development, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Because I've seen this. Like I think the new God of War said like something about that and that they had an intended experience. I think normal was supposed to be the experience they had in mind.
Right.
and I played it on normal, and I said like, yeah, this is a good experience. I was capable of doing most of the stuff.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I experienced the whole part of the game that it wanted me to say and to see,
Mm-hmm.
and I get the narrative. I get, and if I wouldn't be able to do that, I could just lower the difficulty, and the problem would be just like, uh, it would be gone, so
Yeah.
I can experience it because this is a game that is more focused on its narrative. Yeah, the gameplay mechanics are good. I think the gameplay is pretty nice, but it's probably more closer to the story that we experience. And shouldn't we have the opportunity to have an option like that?
Yeah, well,
I mean,
this is where the point of it being an option is really important because all these people who are like, oh, the experience, like it doesn't affect you. It does not affect your experience if these things are options.
yes,
Just don't
yes,
don't have them.
right. I mean, do you really? I mean, I look in option menus all the time. This is like the first thing I do when I play a game. I look into the options menus, and if I see these options, it's like, oh, nice and nice to have.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily need them, but I see like, oh, that's cool. I think that will get a lot of people like that. And it's like, I also have recommended games because they had these options to a few friends, and we're like, I'm never going to experience this. It's like terrible. And it's like, no, 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 you can do that. There is some options there. You just have to look for it. It's just in the options menu. You can play this.
Yeah.
And it's like it's a very interesting moment where the people just lighten up and say like, really, like they thought about me. That's so nice of them. And it's like, in that gamer space, we don't get this. We don't get this consideration all that often.
Yeah.
And it's not the developers necessarily, it's just the toxic nature and the alienation we experience in that specific demographic, you could say, if you want to. It's just very, very harsh.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we should do something about that. And it's kind of an interesting issue because it also leads to the question of what is a developer allowed to do? Like, where can they say like we intend this and this experience, and how much do they have to compromise? Because the classic counter argument of that is, of course, that developer intent is going to be compromised by that if we have all of these options. If we say everybody who gets to buy the game has to experience it to its fullest.
Mm-hmm.
And that's often made as a counter argument, but I feel that this is often just used to shut down the discussion, because I think that accessibility and the validity of expression in a medium are not really so easy to intersplice. It's like they don't necessarily have anything to do with that. But
Yeah.
some use that as a gotcha and say like, yeah, but that's what the developer intended. And I'm like, do you really know that? Have you asked the developer about that? Do
Yeah.
they not want to do that? Because I'm pretty sure like, if you have a message you want to send to as many people as possible, and you're creating something that is accessible to that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of weird to me when we do this, because it's still capitalism. It's like we produce games for this giant mass market,
Mm-hmm.
and it seems to me kind of hypocritical to say, well, if we want to if we want to reach the largest amount of audience, to not include these options, because that seems wrong to me. If your pure intent is to sell it to as many people as possible, and it feels like these options are part of it, you know?
Yeah, no, most certainly, and yeah, if you ask most developers, what they want, they're probably going to tell you for as many people to play their game as possible. They worked hard on it, and they want money. Both of those things are true, so there's no reason not to want as many people to play it as they can.
And I think this is kind of obvious when you see where you want to target this. Now, the question is, of course, there is art that is genuinely only made for a small amount of people, or for like the artist itself, or that it is a experience that the artist only wants to share with a very small amount of people, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But that is rare, experimental, and not really how many people see that, because we have this need for expression.
Yeah.
And I don't see many people that say, I expressed this, but I only wanted to express it to you and nobody else. This is only the thought that I have for you and me. This is like moon logic. I don't comprehend this. If I have an idea, I want to get it as loud to everybody to think about it, to hear about this. And it just strikes me as odd. Now I know there are some people like that, but this makes up a very small percentage of the people, I would say. Like, art is only art when you interpret it, I guess. What we get out of it. So, but this is completely different. But kind of weird that we have to argue both for accessibility, but also then artistic merit, and gets muddied. And I feel like this is really just a distraction technique to just not talk about it and just enforce the normal. You know how people like constantly asking questions just to shut down the conversation.
Yeah, and I think it should be said that for a lot of people, they're deeply fucking unwell human beings who derive a lot of their self-worth from like, oh, I'm good at a video game. So the idea of that actually being a meaningless thing, which is kind of the idea that you're proposing when you be like, no, anyone should be able to play this. I think a lot of people do genuinely feel like attacked by that. They're wrong and their priorities are fucked, but I think that is what's really informing a lot of their hostility to these ideas, I suppose.
But yeah, but you see this all the time in other fields, you know.
Mm.
You see that you see that in sports recently, where people make arguments how athletes will muddy the sport and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's this weird being afraid of something, and I don't see it like that. If it really is such a problem, then open up a new category. It's not that hard. If you say like, okay, this is concerning to you, then we make a trans athlete category, and the problem just vanishes, or we just evaporate categories in the general sense, and do that. It's irrelevant in my opinion to think about this as a watering down. I think then more people come into play, and we see more experiences and we share more experiences. We in general make our culture and our people more richer in the sense. It makes the people happy, makes them come together. And that's why I don't think that we need to exclude people. We should get people in, because that's also something that we experience. Like, for decades, the video game industry thought like we need only to cater to male players, only do what male players want. And then a lot of people who played video games and said like, no, we want to make our own games with our own narratives, and decided to make their own games with other mechanics and approaches. We suddenly got so much more of a richer experience, because the voices we weren't hearing before were telling us these wonderful things that we need to hear, that we felt that we need to hear, but we didn't get. Because we ignored them substantially in the larger scale. And this feels kind of wrong to me. And it's always this kind of I want to hear more. I want to see that. I want to play a video game created by somebody from the other end of the world and how they see it. I want to have that, because I can't be there, but I can listen to them.
Yeah, certainly. And I think that. My ship's filling up with water a bit. I think that a lot of the opposition in sports as well, I think they're both coming from a similar place, where game and sport and these sorts of things are... there's been an increase in the focus of the competitive aspects of it, and not of sort of like these are communal activities. These are things that people do together for fun. This isn't... There's more to this than just like this pure competitive notion that a lot of people have now with sports, and I think that also quite a lot with games. So it's like the very idea that like a trans athlete might be better at something, that even being like this big world-ending fucking thing. It's indicative of that attitude, but it's also indicative of sort of accepting the status quo very uncritically, because it's like, fucking basketball players aren't all the same height, every runner doesn't have like the exact same fucking body type. Like it's people, even people within the NBA, some are just like going to be a bit better at some things. Like that's just how having a human body works. It's not a real problem at all, you know.
Yep. I
Um,
mean,
oh, sorry, go on.
no, and this, especially in the sports category, this is like the same thing goes also for disabled people, because the same kind of argument was in sports was made for disabled people, because you had people like Oscar Pistorius who were disabled, and because of their high-tech prosthesis, a lot of people were like, oh no, he will muddy the category and it will become a tech race. And I'm like, no,
Yeah.
no, this is only supplementary. It's the same kind of argument. It's just, no, this is only getting him to run. Even if you give him a regular prosthesis, he would still be slower. He would still be faster than anybody else. He's just a good athlete. That's not the reason why he is good. It's not his prosthesis, because other people in the category, other people in the sports get the same kind of prosthesis and they don't reach these heights. You know?
Yeah.
It's just very clear that it's very different. You know?
Yeah, plus, I mean, in a lot of sports, it's like one of those open secret things that absolutely everyone is on some kind of steroid and stuff, and it's like,
Yeah, it's true.
it's how it be. Scrussel
It's like it's well known that the biggest drug trafficking event in the world is the Tour de France.
yeah, exactly. Like, no, any claim of this like purity of the sport that needs to be maintained is delusion. What Scrussel was just saying in the chat, I'm all for accessibility options, but I do think the intended experience argument is valid. The challenge can be a big part of what the game is trying to get across. Yeah. So I think it's fair for a developer to present an intended version of the game, but that doesn't mean accessibility/difficulty options shouldn't be there. And I think the way Celeste presents its options is a good way of doing it, and I agree with that a lot. Because no, an important thing about accessibility is often people's access needs conflict. So you could not make the perfect accessible game. It would always have to come down to options. There always have to be settings you could adjust. So I'm all for people making their intended experience, and then putting the options around that as necessary. You know.
Yeah. But we need that. We need to do these kind of things, and without the perspective, I think a lot of people will not even have the input of doing this, because I think Super Bunny Hop, for example, said this when he talked about the fact that he's colorblind in his videos, and how he often looked at different colorblind modes in video games and realized that a lot of them are not really good, because they don't take the experience of colorblindness effectively into account, neither in design nor in aspect, because to make a good colorblind mode, you need to offer a good contrast in your designs, in your color schemes. And it's very clear that they often have only a small amount of people there, maybe with one kind of colorblindness, and operate from that as, oh, this is our standard. But for making a game like this, you need to consider more things. And it's often that they just half-ass that. And then you get things like, I can't see anything, or it's just very blurry. And it's like, that's shit.
Yeah.
But what can you do? You know, this is the option we have, but we need effective options. Real effective options. That's good while you work with people of all kinds together. Of course, it's not possible to keep everybody in. There are some limitations we just will never overcome. Like it's not possible for us to, like, a blind and deaf person will have a hard time actually, experience a video game in the first place.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's probably unlikely that we will get to that specific point. But it's not that we don't acknowledge them. It's not that we don't exist, that they don't exist, or that they can fulfill a purpose. I mean, one of the reasons we think we still remember people like Helen Keller was the fact that they were responsible for helping to create a blind sign language in the world, being important to that specific aspect. Even though that's not what people actually remember her for, that apparently in the United States.
No.
No, they remember it's a miracle healing. What? Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
it's a fucking wizard, bro.
This is really what frustrates me. I looked into this and it's like they really downplay her and just reduce her to the miracle and just completely ignore she had a large contribution to American Sign Language and that kind of thing. And she was a socialist.
Yep. Yep.
And it's like, of course they want to downplay that, but I'm like,
Yeah, it's a big mystery why so much of what she did historically was erased.
it's like, oh no, a person who suffered through great hardship and could only survive on the help of others now wants to help other people attain similar, if not better, conditions? That doesn't make sense.
No, that's communism. That's fucking evil. You can't do that.
No. But yeah, so such a weird thing. It's like apparently also her parents really didn't like that she went into socialism because we were pretty well off.
Ah.
So, I mean, she couldn't be a poor girl with that kind of condition in that time frame. That was basically impossible because then you would not survive.
Yeah, that's
Clearly.
true.
I mean, this is America in the late 1800s. It was back in the day where the people still were like regularly killed in strikes for mine workers because they just didn't want to go down there anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, so yeah, that's a thing. But we need that. A good perspective can help us develop a new tool to go there, because we might sometimes have this like this kind of laser focus on something that we can't see everything around it. Then we start missing the forest for the trees, literally, and we don't actually have that. And that's why it is so important to have this. And hey, a video game develops a completely different meaning if you play this with somebody who has a completely different approach to seeing that. Like I see the world very different from many other people because if you have like a disability on walking like me, I have to take care about like how's the pavement done or what's the ground, because I don't want to stumble. I don't want to fall down. This is awful,
Yeah.
So I have to. So I take a lot of care to not step where I'm not supposed to, and look at that, and I just see the world very differently.
Is Germany all full of shitty like cobblestone like England, or no?
It's still a big problem, but not as much. I mean, East Germany doesn't have this problem nearly at all because A, bombed to the ground, B, rebuilt with mostly smooth pavement all over the place. So that's not really a big problem. So it's very rare to find this kind of cobblestone roads here. So that's a good thing. Still possible to find them, but it's very rare. And even then, it's not nearly as bad as it is in other cities and places like that. So it's mostly smoothed out. The walkways are our least problem, I would say.
Okay, well that's good.
I mean, at least in the larger cities, in some of the rural areas, this might be not as bad, but there is not a big focus on that.
Yeah, no, of course not. No, that makes sense.
Typical urbanizing aspect. So yeah.
Yeah.
But in general, so but there's also kind of I looked at this and asked myself, how does this affect me? How do I see the world? Like, how did I develop? For example, I'd have developed because of this a very fine sense of hearing.
Right.
Because it's also kind of important to hear what you're stepping on and to make sure that a car is not around and trashes you and stuff like that. It completely changes how you perceive things. And you can notice these fine details, and it's like it's so different from how other people see the world. They're like, I look at this and see fine, minute details in pictures or videos that other people wouldn't catch up on. Like, I don't know why I have this kind of finely senses. Like, I can always see when somebody like missed a frame and cut it. Like,
right.
This drives me nuts. Like, Like I see this as like, oh no, no, you should have cut it a frame earlier. No, now it's there. It's just it drives me nuts. But it's
I'm
okay.
usually pretty anal about that. I hope that you haven't caught me doing that.
No, not yet.
All right.
Your editing was always on point, so I can't really complain about that.
Excellent. Good.
So on the flip side, I think you often pick things where the editing is topics where the editing is not so complicated to do,
Yeah, it
so
takes
hard.
fucking forever otherwise.
Yeah, I think the most editing heavy thing that you did was really the core retrospective.
Yeah, I had to. Yeah, you can't let any clips run for too long, or else you get copyright bombed. So you gotta really be chopping things up a lot, and
Yeah.
yeah,
On
YouTube's
top.
shit makes it all a lot more work than it has to be.
Yeah, I think so, but
Yeah.
I expect that videos like that are copyright claimed or at least like content ID'd because that's just how it goes.
Yeah, I think all four of them are currently allowed to be monetized. I think maybe one of them is not allowed, but I tried very hard to make them work.
That's cool because I follow some YouTubers who have to be absurdly anal retentive about this and are constantly uh, angry about this. Like I watch a lot of Linkara stuff,
Yeah.
and he has to like re-upload like one of the series he does about the Power Rangers like every few months, and it's like he gets very angry about this, and it's like, dude, I get it, but come on, I know they're popular videos, but yeah, $5 on Patreon, just shut up.
Yeah, you can't. You simply cannot just be getting angry about it all the time because you'll lose
Yeah,
your fucking mind because it's just it's gonna happen. It
yeah,
simply is
it's
going
just
to happen.
it's possible. I have made that's the reason why I've made the decision to say like, yeah, I don't need that. If I make a YouTube video, I don't care about the monetization at all. I want to get it out as long as it's not taken down. I'm willing to take everything because I made sure beforehand to secure my livelihood.
Yeah. The main thing that I'm concerned about, I'd say probably a third, maybe half of my videos are demonetized, and it's fine. Like you get fuck all from ads. It's very
Yeah.
much yeah, hoping it doesn't get taken down. When I first put up my video about coronavirus, it got fucking taken down on a copyright
Mm-hmm.
claim
Yep.
from fuck, I think it was The Guardian. Like I used a clip
Mm.
that they also used in a news story, and apparently they copyright wrote it. It's not wasn't their clip really, but apparently they can have it, and it just got like taken right down. And I've had copyright claims from like fucking like big companies and like Time Warner and shit. And but no, the fucking Guardian is the one who just like immediately nukes my video.
So weird.
Yeah, fuckers.
I mean, it's nothing new. Some people just want to get money, like real big money. Like I had this, like I had a, I had a, I actually was kind of like softly sued. I think I said this about because of apparently piracy.
Mm.
Warner Brothers wanted some money from me. Well, not actually Warner Brothers, but the people who represent them in Germany. And we're like, they sent me this angry letter where it's like, you should not pirate stuff and redistribute it. No, 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 you shouldn't do that. And they say like, so well, if we sued you, we could get out of you a lot of money. But you know what? We're not actually going to sue you. We're going to warn you, and if you pay us like $800 and send us this letter where you said you're never going to do it ever again, then we're willing to overlook this.
This is a fucking
Otherwise,
shakedown.
it's a shakedown. It's a threat. It's literally a threat.
Christ.
And it's like it's literally a threat. And it's like, I'm not going to pay this. So I talked to my lawyer, looked this up, and he's like, yeah, just tell them that you are living on Social Security or something like that, and they will back the fuck off.
Right.
Because suddenly there is no money to getting out there, at least in the short. Because if they would sue me under these circumstances, I could go for the lowest possible monthly rate, was like 12 euros or something like that. And they say like, oh, we
Right.
could sue you for 50,000 euros. And I'm like, yeah, good luck getting $12 every month out of me for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Warner Brothers would love to see their lawyer department in Germany really, really wasting all that money just to get this wonderful sum. It's like, mm.
Yeah, just not fucking worth it.
You know,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
say it has no upsides being poor, but I think I found one.
Yeah, you're not worth suing. Hell yeah.
See, and that's why I'm validated now in the fact that I'm a pirate.
No, it's we love to play to Sea of Thieves. We
Yes.
love it. It's a great game. Sometimes you find movies that you like.
Yeah. Actually, this is kind of a weird thing. I remember a really big YouTuber in the anime YouTuber complaining about that so many people pirate stuff, and he urged all of his viewer base to not pirate at all because it's bad.
Fuck off.
Now we could talk about the substantial exploitation about the Japanese animation industry and staff who's constantly overworked, underpaid, and so on, you know, and that by supporting the official release, we're basically only worsening their condition because we validate the capitalists to exploit them.
Yeah.
This would be one of the arguments. But I have a way cheaper gotcha is the fact that he has to pirate all of his stuff because he cannot get it legally otherwise for making his videos. It's like, this is an open secret. Every reviewer who wants to do anything with material has to pirate the stuff in any way, shape, or form. We have no other choice.
Right.
So what he's doing is basically hypocrisy. He's telling every of his viewers, no, don't pirate. I only do it because I have to, but I'm not going to tell it to you.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's an easy argument to make as well when you're like in an economic position where buying is always an option. But like I would say 90% of the time, for me the alternative is I simply just don't watch that thing, or I don't listen to that album, or I don't play that. It just doesn't happen. At which point, you know, nobody's actually losing any money, really.
No. It's already a weird thing to sue somebody for profit they didn't make, because you can make an estimate, but that's only an estimate, and that's only acceptable if it would be actually pointing out. But that's kind of a weird thing why it's so pointless to sue somebody for piracy, because you don't know how much money you didn't make.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it could be $1 million, it could be $2. Who knows? It's very awkward, but you know,
Might as well fucking sue my friend if they lend me their copy of a fucking game or a movie or something, you know?
yeah,
Like it's nonsense.
it's very much nonsense. Ironically, Uwe Boll made movies with that specific attitude in mind.
Yeah.
He exploited a loophole in the German law to make shit ton of money out of failing movies.
Yeah, he sure did.
It's like so fucking bad.
Yeah.
I think there's only one halfway decent Uwe Boll movie, and it's like Tunnel Rats, what is a very gory movie, and it's like, oh. Well, the rest of his movies are just shit, and are purposefully shit.
I've never heard of Tunnel Rats. Does it have like swarms of rats eating people?
I don't know. I've watched it like once,
Okay.
and I didn't really care. It was like just, oh, this is the only Uwe Boll movie that I would consider halfway decent. Well, it's funny when he gets gunned down in Postal, but that's the only one.
Scrussel says a while back there was a big EU study into piracy, and they found game piracy doesn't affect profits.
Yeah, understandably. Makes sense to me. On top of the fact that many people pirate as a demo version of the game anyway.
Oh,
and then later
absolutely.
buy it. It's like, I can understand that. It's a very big investment. Why wouldn't you? You know?
Yeah, yeah. A lot of people do that, and then, yeah, if they like the game, they'll fucking buy it.
I have done this many times over, and I don't regret that mostly because, hey, Instead of buying blindly a game, I could just check it. You know?
Yeah, most certainly. I yeah, I honestly I think there's nothing wrong with that at all, and it should be encouraged. It's
Again, but it's like it's already very clear that downloading something is actually not illegal. It's just uploading it. That's the apparently illegal part of it that a lot of people are concerned with.
yeah.
But what makes, in my opinion, very little sense, because that can only work if you like torrent the stuff, and even then, sue proof. So yeah,
Yeah.
for me, not a big deal, but for others, yeah.
Yeah, I think that everyone should pirate Avengers Endgame.
Man, I'm actually not going to watch any kind of MCU movies anymore.
Just trying to get my fucking stream like nuked by Disney. This is all a joke, by the way, Disney. Don't hurt me. I'm a small baby. Yeah, I don't know. MCU movies sort of blow ass, you know. Oops, put that water in.
I think they
they're
wouldn't
fun.
blow that much ass if there wouldn't be so many of them.
Yeah, well, they're taking a. Seems like they're taking a bit of a break now. I don't think there's any this year.
I mean, we all have to take a break forcefully right about now. So
I think the initial plan was only one this year. I think they were just doing what was it? Black Widow, maybe.
yeah,
But I feel like last year and the years sort of before, they were doing like 3 of these fucking things a year. So it's definitely simmering down. I think they're sensing the fatigue, the superhero fatigue that people definitely have.
I mean, it can only get worse if Warner Brothers gets back with their DC movies. Like, if they really start up the production of that kind of stuff again, and we have seen that a lot of them are not really good, because why would you ever hire just Zack Snyder for good movies?
I know they won't, because they'll see dollar signs and
Yeah.
But I would love if they just made like weirder small budget ones, like Joker obviously is one example. Just like standalone, small budget compared to most comic book movies. That'd be nice. Then it could be different. You'd be making movies that Disney just will not make. Disney, whether you love or hate Joker, Disney simply would not have made it. So it justifies their existence if they're going to insist on making fucking comic book movies.
Like, I think this is actually kind of a strength that DC has in many cases. You have so many characters, so many weird characters, you could just make a one-shot movie about, and it would be pretty interesting. I mean, I hear a lot of people who want to see a question movie.
Oh, hell yeah.
Definitely, what we can definitely understand, Like, I would like to see Etrick and the Demon return. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. There are many options. Like, then you can go on a fantasy route, or you want to do something weird and crazy, or something noir. It's like so many options there. We don't have to be all Batman v Superman.
Ugh.
That was definitely not a Dawn of Justice, I can tell you.
I'm glad that it seems like they're kind of over Zack Snyder.
I don't know. The Snyder Cut is now a thing.
Yeah, that feels like a cynical cash-in. Also, it's really funny to me that it's taking so long that they're obviously like... there was never a Snyder Cut. They're making the Snyder Cut,
Yeah. They just take it, and it's not going to be better as a movie. It can't. It's just literally not in the cards. If they would have better options in the in the material, they would have already found it. They would have had it the first time around.
Yeah, no, the Snyder Cut is not going to be better. Nothing Zack Snyder has ever done should indicate that it would be better.
I mean, we can look at the things that he already ruined. He ruined zombies. He ruined Watchmen. He ruined. I think he didn't ruin anime, because you can't ruin anime. It's
Did
already
did he
it's
do
already dead.
did he do an anime adaptation?
No, not really, but he
You're
had
just
this
saying.
kind of
Yeah.
thing, this stupid movie Sucker Punch, where he's like, I
Oh
was very big
yeah.
into anime influences on that, and it's just like this very, very terrible movie that's like, oh, this is so awful. So awful. So much male gaze, it's not funny anymore. Oh, I wouldn't have watched that when I was in my dude bro phase, so nah, nah.
A wingless monkey says, "Is Snyder even involved in the Snyder Cut?" Fantastic question. I have no idea.
I don't know. It would be funny if they forget to put him in the if they forget to cut him if they cut him out in the credits or something like that by accident.
It's just some random editor's like interpretation of what they think Snyder meant to do.
I mean, maybe we can cut this into a weird art movie.
That would be
You know?
fucking funny.
Yeah, we're turning this into Memento and just let it turn backwards.
Yeah.
So it's just like as a fun joke, you know. It's like you wanted the Snyder cut, now you get the extreme Snyder cut.
It would be funny if it was just 300. Uploaded the film 300. It's all he ever wants to make. He just wants buff dudes fucking each other up. That's all he's ever wanted.
You really wonder if he really lives in the closet because, dang, there's so much homoeroticism in his movies. He's
Yeah.
seemingly unaware of.
Well, that's really the thing. Hypermasculinity is gay as shit, and like
Yeah,
he's definitely, you know, I do not think for a second that he's gay or anything. I think he's definitely a weird, insecure dude who's probably a homophobe. But it's just, yeah, it's indistinguishable. I just feel like a bit of irony and fun is the only difference when it comes down to it.
I mean, hey, I watch this full of homoerotic. That's totally fine. I mean, that's the reason why I watch wrestling still.
Yeah, hell yeah. See, wrestling, I think that's the difference. Wrestling is gay as shit, whereas what
Yep.
Snyder does is brutally straight, and it's the self seriousness. I think that's the line.
Yeah.
Sad. He's working on the Fountainhead. Is he? Is he
Oh,
actually making that? Is he finally?
oh God, just bludgeon me with a copy of Atlas Shrugged. It's like, oh. Also,
Yeah.
why do we need this? I thought The Fountainhead already had a decent movie adaptation.
Uh, I mean, it can't have a very good one because it's a fucking horrible book. So I don't know.
It's true, but you know, like even from a basic approach, I mean, how can you do this? I mean, this is a story about a guy who's an architect and who loves making architecture. You know, like that's what I know from The Fountainhead. I actually watched a video on it because an artist who's actually very left wing had a copy of The Fountainhead laying around. And The Fountainhead in itself is a movie that is a story about, you know, like artistic integrity and all that. And you know, artistic integrity is always a nice thing. But do you really have to resort to terrorism just to make your point about that? Because that's what the
Yeah.
movie does. Because that's what the book does. You know, like at the end of end of a story, he blows up one of the houses that they built in his name, and he goes into court and stands trial, and of course explains it and gets scot free for
Because he's
for
so
domestic
epic.
for domestic terrorism. You know, like
Yeah, well, yeah, he goes into court and he's like, excuse me, sirs, I don't think you realize I'm fucking epic." And they were like, "Oh shit, yeah, no, you're cool. There's been no crimes here."
it's like, I don't know if Zach could do something like that. Like how he would justify that.
He would.
I think he's willing to go pretty far, but is he willing to go that far?
Absolutely, and he'd unabashedly be like, "This guy fucking rocks. He's so cool." Zach just wants like cool dudes.
I mean, if he can. I mean, he did justify Rorschach Like how can you do that? So
Yeah.
it's like, how do you do this? How can you? It just baffles me. So I mean, if he can go ahead with that, then yeah. But there was, but with Rorschach, there was at least a bit of ambiguity in play. Like with Fountainhead, you can't do that. That's like literal domestic terrorism, destruction of property. That wouldn't fly.
Yeah,
I've,
I
I think
wonder
the,
if he would revise the events to fit his narrative, or if he would just shove it in there, you know?
I think the alternative you could go for would be changing the setting in the sense, like how the RoboCop remake did it, like how it basically created a new setting where they could have this kind of argumentation without having it, muddy the waters.
Maybe. I haven't seen the RoboCop remake, because,
It's not a
who
good
care?
movie, I can tell you.
Okay.
If you're into a little bit of body horror, yeah, that the movie offers, but that's all.
I'm kind of into that.
I mean, just give it a look. It's not very effective in anything else. It's not comparable to the original RoboCop in many ways.
Alright, it might be a fun movie to watch sometime while having some drinks, you know?
Yeah, it's definitely something to make fun of.
Yeah,
Sometimes, but-
definitely. I've been watching the Fast and Furious movies like that, and
yes.
they fucking rule. It's so fun.
Yeah. That's one of the things. Again, I think we said this. I think we said this somewhere along. We need to keep these movies alive, even in a socialist society. We need to make more of these movies. Just
Oh,
because-
absolutely.
What? I mean, we need a reminder of how it was in the past, and how gay family can be.
Hell yeah, man! Now we got to do it. You gotta know about family. You gotta know about Corona product placement. You gotta know Vin Diesel cool as fuck. You gotta know all the facts. You know, very important
Yes.
shit.
Yes.
Now
we
they
should
rock.
never. We can never forget family and Paul Walker.
No, never forget CGI Paul Walker. Never
Never.
forget The Rock showing up halfway through the series and just being like, "I'm the fucking Rock," and everyone being like, "Hell yeah, dude, you are." Never forget that.
I still can't believe he was in that G.I. Joe movie.
Oh yeah, he was. That movie was fucking terrible.
I know.
I love it.
But I have to give him one thing in the second movie, in where he is in. They have a Cobra Commander, and this is the first time in history that the Cobra Commander is cool. What is oddly weird to me.
I don't even remember that.
It's like
What
where
the fuck?
nobody remembers that. Everybody tries to forget this movie.
Everybody forgets Cobra Commander.
What is weird? I actually have I originally have never really watched GI Joe because it is Germany, and we had this inherent thing for a very long time where selling war to children is kind of wrong.
Man,
Attitude.
that's a good rule. You
I
should
know,
keep doing
I
that.
know.
It does suck ass to do that.
So I never really watched it before, but I decided recently with some friends to watch it because they stream a lot of these episodes on YouTube nowadays. And it's surprisingly funny,
Okay.
and the series actually goes sometimes very weird places. Like there's a few episodes that play apparently in an alternate reality that the Cobra took over the world,
Right.
and three of the characters decide they want to stay in that alternate reality because they now get to collectively bang the Baroness.
I see. Okay.
It's like, why G.I. Joe? Why?
I support GI Joe rights. That's my new platform.
Actually, I was surprised. The Soviet Union is actually represented in it, and it's not in a negative way.
That's fucked up.
It's like, I mean, it's kind of weird. They're presented as cowards. I'm like, that's not how I remember the Soviet Union, even in Red Scare propaganda.
Yeah, that
They're
was
like,
no one ever said
Wait.
that of them.
it's like they would never bow down to anybody in that movie. They would double down and say like, "No, I nuke them into oblivion." But no, it's like that's so weird to me.
That's bizarre. I don't know. Anti-communists can't decide. They just pick. They pick something. You know, they
I
pick a
mean, it
negative
wouldn't.
trait.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if they wanted to go for a realistic approach. I mean, that was the phase where the Soviet Union entered the phase of coexistence. I think very shortly before Perestroika ruined everything.
Mm.
So I don't know if they thought this would make them weak or something like that, but I don't certainly get that feeling.
Well, at least they admit that trying to coexist with capitalism is weak as shit.
Yeah.
Boo! We boo it. On the topic of accessibility in games, though, what did you think of how Celeste implemented it? I think somebody mentioned that just earlier.
I still haven't played it. It's still on my
Okay.
list. But what I've seen about the specific options sounds really interesting. Like you can turn it in both directions. Like you can make it accessible, but you can make it incredibly inaccessible if you want to. And I think
Yeah.
and I think for these hardcore difficulty matters kind of people, I think that would be an interesting opportunity to say like, no, turn this shit up. Why not? Come on,
Well,
you
see,
can do that.
that's the thing, because these people whine a lot about Celeste, and I think it kind of shows that they're not really whining about difficulty, you know?
Yeah, they don't.
Because you can make it really fucking hard. It's entirely about being exclusionary and about feeling like big special boys because they were good at Dark Souls.
Ooh, so
Oh,
much.
I know.
It's like, ooh. I don't get that. And you should never like tell me about, oh, you don't like difficult games. Like shit, bro. I'm a guy who plays fighting games on the highest difficulty for fun.
I don't like
Like,
fighting games on the highest. I'd rather fight people. At least then it feels fair, you know.
yeah, I know, but that was for a long time my go-to thing that I had no people to play with. Like I would sit there and just play on the highest difficulty, and this is definitely not something you should do. But
No.
but it's like I was that was my trainer, the incredibly mercilessness of an AI that can basically exploit all of the mechanics at once when it wants to. And that kind of teached me a certain kind of relentlessness in my combat style. And that resulted in the fact that then I actually was playing against people. They were like, nope, like, nope. Like a few matches, and it's like, oh, come on, I'm playing not even with my main characters. Come on, come on. And it realized that this competitive nature was just completely broken because I wasn't even competitive. I was just wanted to have people to play with. You
Yeah.
know, it's not that they wouldn't have gotten better if they wouldn't have played against me.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just I wanted to have people to play with. But my own skill and my competitiveness just pushed me away and alienated me from my friends. And like that's pretty fucked up.
Yeah, that sucks, man.
And
And
so And so I just decided to not do that anymore. And nowadays I play most fighting games for, ironically, the story.
hell yeah. Well, you see, that's a situation where you can kind of go one of two ways. You could go the way that you went, where you're just like, "Am I having fun?" Or you can be like, "This is my identity now. I'm gonna just like be a fucking psycho about it and piss off all my friends."
Well, I think I chose wisely here.
Yeah, you chose like someone who's not a fucking nerd, which is the best choice you can make.
And hey, fighting games have gotten better stories over time, so I don't complaining.
That's true. I finally started trying to actually learn how to play a fighting game with Dragon Ball Fighters, and it's so fun. I love it. It's a great game.
It's really good. I think it has the right amount of accessibility even for normies. And
Yeah.
hey, you can at least change the button layout how you want, so
Yes, you
that's
can.
that's an option. So, but yeah, in general, I think it's good. Arc System Works also produces like the best kind of fighting games you can get in the first place.
Yeah, they're fucking fantastic.
Like, I think you would also get ideologically a lot of mileage out of Guilty Gear.
Oh yeah,
Be-
I've heard a lot of praise about that.
Because it's like it's really interesting how it approaches the kind of law and order nature, and it has this kind of very weird and alienating thing. Like the villain of that series is a guy called Batman. He has a real name, but nobody remembers that anymore. And
Right.
he basically engineers monstrous creatures. That's
Right.
basically the thing that he did, and turned a lot of people into these monstrous creatures, and basically pushed everybody to war with this. He forced humanity to fight against these creatures, the Gears, and even turned his best friend into one. That's the main character,
That's not very
Soul,
nice.
Soul Bad Guy. And he has been basically traveling for the past 200 years in the world and trying to be an A to humanity, but also B to get the Gears to kind of integrate into humanity. He tries to both sides this whole situation, and this is very important because he kind of has a trauma because his former girlfriend has been turned in like the template that man uses to make his puppets, who he still sends out to destroy the world. It's kind of weird.
Has he tried peacefully coexisting with the world?
Yes, multiple times, and he does so. No, that man has never tried coexisting with the world. He tries to make it this bitch.
Oh, that's not nice. That's no way to
Uh,
behave.
No, and the worst part is he doesn't even treat his creations very well because his creations have this kind of you could say a bad habit of becoming self-aware and sentient about themselves when they interact with people because they don't know what this is. They see like, oh, I'm a family with my father who wants things from me, but he doesn't treat me like a thing. He just tells me humans need to be destroyed, exterminated, and killed, but humans are actually nice people. And basically has to mind control his minions because otherwise he's not getting anything out of that because people don't want to kill each other, surprisingly.
Huh, that's fucked up. They should try it. Have they even tried it? I feel like they're not being open-minded, you know? Not like me. I'm a rational centrist, and I think we should try killing each other.
Sure, let's talk about this some other time. Like this is a destiny debate I'm just waiting to be happening.
Destiny debate. Yeah. Fucking
Like,
goof.
it's a developed approach that we should kill each other instead of peacefully coexisting. I want to see Destiny pull out a statistic for that.
Statistically, if we kill each other, that's fucking based, bro. That would be the extent of his argument. And be like, well, you know, it's hard to argue with that, actually.
Yeah, I know. But Guilty Gear is really great. It has a lot of interesting characters. It also talks a bit about colonization and having its own national identity erased and what that means.
Mm-hmm.
Like for some reason, the Arc System Works likes in their games to nuke Japan for some reason. Like really basically remove it from the map. And
Okay.
this is what happened here. Like they completely destroyed Japan. There's nothing left of it.
Classic Japan move.
Classic Japan move. And now every people of Japanese descent have to live in colonies because the rest of the world doesn't like them, apparently. I mean,
Right.
It's kind of turning the isolationism of Japan on its head. I think this is at least interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting that most of the characters that we meet from Japan want to escape that. They don't want to live in that. They have a culture, but they want to get out of this place because while it offers them security, it doesn't offer them anything else.
Right.
And you have this really weird drive in the Guilty Gear series where it's about freedom, you know, like the main character Soul wants to be free. He wants to be unshackled. He wants humanity to accept every of his brethren and sister and just see how it goes. But he also just wants to be free. That is real big deal. He just
Should move
saying,
to America then, baby.
Like, It's actually not so. It's kind of weird. He gives me always an anarchist vibe, but a really good anarchist vibe.
Interesting.
And I'm pretty sure the creator of that series is kind of. I mean, he's definitely very left leaning. That's true. But he's basically always on the border of presenting an anarchist society. Like it's always just one step ahead from it. And he makes the music for the series and basically everything that Arc System Works does, unless they're working with Bandai, because Bandai is shit.
Yep.
And his music has an interesting style and concept, and just feels like making a lot of statements about society, freedom, self-determination, and the nature of people. It's very interesting, actually. Like he has literally a track about society for the newest game prepared.
Oh yeah, the Joker video game.
What? No. Actually, this is funny because it's actually referencing. I think the Joker thing has been inspiring him in this.
Are we gonna see a Joker-fied game? I'm ready.
I'm not sure if I'm ready for the Jokerification of society, but
I was fucking born ready. Let's do it.
yeah, it's like it has a lot of interesting takes. Of course, the big problem that you have with the Japanese lens is how they perceive some of these things. It really feels like the creator feels shackled to the heavy traditionalist conformist society of Japan, because he really doesn't like that. He makes it music mostly. He makes his music in English. He likes to go heavy. He has very unique and very individualized characters with really weird gimmicks.
Right.
Like, and he likes to defy conventions. Like one of the features that the Guilty Gear series has is a character called Bridget, who looks like a nun with giant handcuffs as weapons and a yo-yo.
Okay. I've seen this video.
But Bridget is actually is not a girl. Bridget identifies as male.
Right.
But here's the funny thing. Bridget wants to be very masculine. But the way how Bridget perceives to be masculine is inherently very what we would describe as traditionally feminine in looks. And she defines herself still through strength and action. But it's one of these places where it's like, yeah, Bridget is a boy, but she sees the masculine traits in a very different light.
So
You know?
what? So she using she/her pronouns then? Like what's going on?
No, it's not a trans thing. It's more of like a cross-dressing thing, I would say. It's not like that.
Okay.
But it's basically redefining gender roles. What Bridget is engaging in.
I see. And reforming the church, I should think.
No, she's a bounty hunter.
Okay.
I know. It's not perfect, but hey, it's one of these concepts. Like Guilty Gear is heavily inspired by Westerns. So, of course, there would be this kind of element in there.
Yeah, you gotta have nuns. That's what the West does, right? Nuns?
I thought they are more of bounty hunters, but okay.
Bounty hunting nuns? That's what the West does.
Sure, that's something I have not seen yet. We could make a movie out of that.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Let's do it. We'll have a little bounty hunting nuns.
Yes.
Okay. I'm glad that we're agreed. This is good.
Oh yeah. Ah.
Wingless Monkey says Japan is weird about gender, but sometimes it gets interesting because of it. Yeah, you definitely see approaches to it that you wouldn't really see in Western media, for better or worse.
I mean, yes, but you would be surprised. I mean, I'm into some communities with a lot of native Japanese, and they seem to be like really getting this kind of gender thing, this kind of gender discussion that has been happening in the last, in the last decade, I would say. It has become more with transgender and all of that, and it's kind of gotten to the point where, of course, there's a large fetishization of this element, like it always is, because Japan is very horny.
Yeah.
Even though they don't want to tell you that they're very horny, but they are very horny.
Yeah, they are.
It's like, so that's one of the parts, but it's not that they don't understand or that they don't want to cooperate in that or want to see it that way. It's just the biggest problem that you have is the heavy conformative nature of Japanese society. That's the real big kicker in this. And they still sterilize trans people if they want to transition. That's the real big kicker.
Yeah, it's a pretty big kicker right there.
Right in the balls, I would say.
Potentially. So it's yeah, so Japan still does that. I believe Sweden still does it. Do they still do it in Germany? Do you know?
I haven't actually looked into that. I'm a bad German because I don't want to look at my country anymore.
Yeah, I mean, Germans historically only make very good decisions when it comes to sterilization, so I'm sure there's nothing to worry about, really.
But I don't think we actually do that anymore.
That's good.
We're already in this at this moment in a very interesting discussion about trans people right about now.
Right.
Because there is this kind of problem where self-identification is still an icky topic, and at first we made some strides, but then earlier this month, people wanted to take this away through the Supreme Court, and because of that, it kind of gets weird. But in general, the politicians are quite positive on that. Like, the only people that seemingly are still against self-identification are the really hardcore conservatives and reactionaries who quite still have a power in this country, but don't really make up the majority of people's thought anymore.
Right.
So it's one of these things, and hey, I'm living in a country that is completely left-wing controlled at this point, so I don't really have that problem, so I can use this. But I advocate always for the opportunity of self-identification. You don't need to prove anything. The only thing that you need to prove is that you're willing to say, I am this. I am what I am.
Yeah.
And that's the most important thing, because you know best who you are.
Sure.
Also, self-identification has one big upside. If you later come to terms that maybe that isn't who you are, you can just easily switch back.
Yeah.
Without any kind of hassle.
True. Yeah.
So, in my opinion, this is completely without downsides.
Yeah. Yeah. No, there's not really any downsides.
No, I don't know any downsides. I have heard some arguments against it, but they are clearly completely unfounded. Like, one of my friends wanted to tell me he is kind of iffy on that because of medical history of people. Like, people on hormones would, have different medical histories and actions like that, and if they like get into a car crash or something, the doctors would have a hard time separating this and maybe giving the wrong kind of medicine and maybe, accidentally hurt them. To what I can only say, we have these chip cards that contain our complete medical history that you have to slot into the machine before you can do anything.
Yeah, I mean, a doctor, if someone was going to be implementing any sort of medication or treatment that might have adverse side effects, they'd have to check you for a fucking 100 different things anyway. Yeah. Like far beyond HRT or anything, you'd be wanting to look at, is this person diabetic? What other pre-existing conditions do they have? Are they immunocompromised for any reason? Are they gonna fucking die if I give them this? The idea that just doctors normally wouldn't even check and would just do whatever they want, but then suddenly this complicates it is, you just don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Yeah.
I think doctors can handle it. They'll be all right.
Yeah, I mean, they have to look.
Yeah.
There's so much that you can fuck up with that if you just don't look. So of course doctors will look.
Yeah, doctors hate getting sued.
Yeah.
They hate that shit.
They want to help you, and then they forget, their watch in your spleen, and it's
classic. And it's all because you were trans.
It's all because you're trans. Now you have a watch around your spleen. Now your spleen knows what time it is.
Making it the most well-informed spleen.
Yes. But yeah, it's so no. I don't see it like that.
No.
But again, most of our society seems to already have no problem with self-identification, and you have already seen like when it comes to the causes of our people, Germany is willing to operate like you see this with the Black Lives Matter protests that even spread here, and we saw massive support for that.
Yeah.
So it's like it's very clear that people have no problems with that. People wanna see a better equal world, and I think this is all like, especially this whole this combination of Black Lives Matter and the damn virus at the same time is kind of like the force awakening of the people.
Yeah.
Like you see that everybody thinks differently right about now. Everything looks in a different case. I think this is kind of what makes me very hopeful, because change looks like it's on the horizon. And sure, the ghouls want to push it back into the closet, but let's be honest. I think they forgot that the NRA has their weapons in the closet, so you know what that means.
That's where they keep them. Yeah, all right.
So hey, get me back in the closet, and we'll be right back.
Sure, why not?
So no, I don't think that they can pull this back. There need to be massive changes done, and people will demand them. There is nothing that they can change about that.
Yeah, I'm I'm noticing something. Yeah, it's definitely spreading a lot, even outside of the U.S. There's been a lot of sort of solidarity protests and stuff in other countries, and I think one of the most significant things over the past month or so is, ooh, shit, that killed me. People's opinion of the Black Lives Matter as like a vague protest group has gone up a shit ton. Because a lot of Americans were very skeptical of them because America, sucks. But like their approval ratings, I guess, for lack of better terms, have gone way up, because I think that just by repeatedly and relentlessly bringing things like police brutality into the public lens, I think we underestimate how many people don't really have a strong opinion on these things. And it can be really easy when you spend a lot of time in like an online space where everyone has like these very thought out lines that they will argue hard. Oh shit, my ship is sinking a little bit here. But yeah, a lot of people, they don't think about it, especially if it's not something that necessarily affects them. They will very happily just like not have a strong opinion on it. So when you're showing them this stuff and they have to look at it, then there's definitely a lot of people who will just be like, oh shit, police do be killing people, huh? And it can be really frustrating when that's how people act about it, but they will come on side when really presented with the reality of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and the fact is that the police in America was very poor with their response. They're really like going kill crazy as of now, and you can't hide that.
Yeah.
It happened this time around so heavily, so inexcusable, so hard to hide.
Yeah.
On top of the fact that nowadays with social media, you can't really hide it anymore. You really can't. You saw this from all sides of the spectrum, and I also noticed this. This whole action pushed people further to the left than I would have ever expected. Like some of my hardcore gamer friends now tell me they become socialists, and I'm like, I'm not sure how to think about this, but welcome on board, comrade.
I have to tell you, I'm no longer a gamer.
So yeah, I think this is like there is movement. It seems like the Overton window is moving the other way since a long time ago, for a long time now, and it's like it's good. Let's keep it moving, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And the fact, as you said, the fact that the cops responded to all of this like the fucking violent thugs that they are, yeah, it's made it all so undeniable that everyone's just had to be like, oh yeah, okay, well that's
yeah.
It's clearly true. These guys are fucking murdering people.
It's very weird to me because I talked about this with my uncle, who is actually a police officer, you know. And he was completely surprised about the response of the United States, but also looked into it and realized, oh wait, how did they organize their public support and police force? Like, he looked into the history of the American police, and I was standing there and just smiling and grinning and like, slave patrols? And he's like, slave patrols. I'm like, now you wonder.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
wonder. like like it's really one of these moments where he had to realize, god damn it, this is shit.
Yeah.
Of course he doesn't see this in this perspective that maybe a militarized police force in the general sense is not just something. I mean, the argumentation about abolishing the police in Germany has been lower,
Yeah.
but mostly because we have a better perception of the police in general, thanks to better responses in general, like a higher amount of training, sensibility actions, and so on. So the public wouldn't turn like that, like in America, where you cannot really, really do this. Like there's a very different approach. Now I think that the police shouldn't exist in Minecraft in general.
Certainly.
But the truth of the matter is, I would rather have a effective Minecraft police that doesn't, punch down on everybody and does not only protect private property, than just having the opposite. A kill crazy mob that only decides to enact justice in what they see justice.
Well, see, this is a problem that I have with the fact that America leads this kind of discourse on policing, because it's similar in the UK, where there's much less of a feeling of wanting to like get rid of the police, because people correctly say, well, they aren't as bad here as in America. And I think the problem in a country like Britain or Germany is focusing too much on the police themselves rather than prisons.
Yes.
Because, for example, in the UK, we have a higher, proportionate rate of black prisoners to white prisoners than even America does. We're not, our cops aren't constantly fucking gunning people down in the streets, but we have enormous institutional racism in the legal system. So in the US, I think they are right to at least largely focus on police violence right now. But in the UK, it's that's not really I don't think that's the question that we need to be talking. That we need to be talking about. We need to be talking about incarceration and prisons, I think. And I think that's the truth in a lot of Europe.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, it's definitely not as bad in Germany because we are quite a bit more aware of this whole thing, because if you once had the Nazis, you don't want to invoke the Nazis anymore. So
yeah,
you become a little bit more sensitive towards this whole kind of topic, and so the result is that of course our police force is more sensitive, takes more care. But of course, we also saw the opposite, where our constitutional protection agency was completely infiltrated in many places by right-wing extremists who muddied the water and decided to reduce action against fascist terrorism in the country. And we had some very high-profile cases that basically showcased this to the public, that, wait a minute, our system that's supposed to be giving us order and protection against these people is apparently already infiltrated by them and already makes them inefficient. And I think this is kind of weird. And we had this, the most absurd moment of this was when I think it was 2 years ago now. The head of the Constitutional Protection Agency basically started to spout out nonsense conspiracy theories against leftists,
right,
in public, and was forcefully retired after he made some very bad statements after a group of neo-Nazis had apparently posted a video where they wanted to hunt down on minorities
right,
directly, and he called this as, and he said and he was instantly called in and said we don't know if this is correct now, if this is effectively a fake or not, we don't know this. What was wrong at the time, the agency had already checked it and said this is true, this is a a real video, not just a fake.
Right.
And he tried to deny this. That got the whole thing rolling. And then he claimed in his he claimed in a speech that he was targeted by a left wing conspiracy, and complained about our Minister of Internal Affairs. And one thing you should know about Horst Seehofer, he doesn't like being criticized at all.
Right.
Horsti is a little bit strong on this. So yeah, he got kicked and fired. Originally, he was supposed to be kicked upstairs so he doesn't, threaten anybody. But nope, they kicked him down. I think last year he was in a talk show and was talked about because he had written a book. And
Of course, yeah.
And that book was basically like inflammatory, racist nonsense again, covered in nice words. It was
Right.
basically, and you should have seen this, like the nicest, most mainstream talk head you could ever imagine, who's like uncritical in any situation you could ever come, like the ultimate centrist.
Yeah.
And suddenly he asks the hard questions. Suddenly he goes like, but this is empowering the AfD. This is going to incite hatred and violence. Are you really thinking you can get away with this? Because you're basically tapping on the way of becoming a fascist. And it's like, he was really like completely stumped. He didn't see this coming. Like, so yeah, he was stumped. Of course, the AfD just saw this as an invitation to criticism and blah blah blah, and riling up the base and all of that. But
Sure.
in general, it doesn't lead to much anymore, because even online the discourse has changed. Like, German YouTube is known for being like overrun by right wing extremists in the comment sections and everywhere. You can find that, but even that is not so prevalent anymore, because with all of that Black Lives Matter discourse, and the people actually going online start combating this, because they see how non-action can actually hurt people in a similar way.
Right.
And now they going online and combat this. I've seen this already around with some major news outlets, where the comments started to suddenly become way less hostile. The ratings started to change in these places, and it just makes clear that just because we haven't combated this narrative, we have basically invited the fascists in our homes, and now it is time to get them out of it, to move them. And we've seen this. There has been also internationally apparently a fight back against fascists, like YouTube banning a few important channels. Like, I don't know if you realize that, but we got rid of Stefan Molyneux.
Yeah, I saw that recently.
It's like, good riddance. Like, you'll love to see it.
Yeah, we're seeing an interesting and I fear perhaps somewhat superficial conflict between the neoliberal establishment, who very much just wants everything to stay the same, and these sort of these newly developing fascist insurgents who are to some degree a response to the current crisis of capital. But I think that capital largely thinks it's still got it under control, and they aren't, their services are not needed. The left isn't that much of a threat. They can salvage this. I think that's kind of where they're coming from. I feel like, we are seeing a bit of infighting from groups who, if the situation was dire enough, would, I think, suddenly stop criticizing each other very much. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they would ally themselves relatively easily. It's a very clear-cut situation, but I think the pendulum just swings in another direction right about now, and it's just, I think the neoliberal establishment just hasn't realized that the wind is now blowing in another direction, and it seems like the direction is left. So this might turn around very quickly. That's something that could happen.
Yeah, I'm wondering if, because as much as we learn from the struggles of the past, so does the ruling class. I'm wondering if they're gonna realize that actually giving concessions can really de-escalate these kinds of things. The National Health Service in the UK was a massive concession when the presence of socialism was a lot stronger. I was honestly a little bit surprised that the Democratic establishment in the U.S. wasn't more willing to be like, yeah, sure, Medicare for all, okay. Like, if we give you that, the left has no fight left in it because we just like this was their big rallying cry.
Yep. Yep. It's kind of weird, but the fact is they're so hostile and so competitive towards each other that they wouldn't offer this because they see this nowadays as weakness.
Yeah.
Don't compromise. It's weakness. And I think this kind of mindset has started a mind rot into the people, and also a lot of the American conservative establishment and the Republicans are very old and don't see the change at all anymore, and that's why they're clamoring so hard and don't make concessions when it would be actually useful to them.
Yeah.
So I think in general the senile approach here is kind of saying, and I think this could be their undoing in the long run if they really ignore this change.
Yeah, well, that is, I think, the most noteworthy thing that's happening right now is the Democratic Party is completely not engaging with this enormous sea change that we're all seeing.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, these riots, I think, were a big manifestation of that. Like, I'm fairly convinced that if Bernie was like the nominee, and people had like, or at least felt that they had like an electoral outlet for all this anger and frustration, that there might not have been riots. Like,
possible.
I think I wouldn't speculate with that much certainty, but I'm just saying that I think that the fact that there was nothing like that made it much more likely that things would escalate in the way that they did. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like it's very clear. I mean, in a sense, we could see like this in the UK as well. Like at least the UK establishment has some, let's call them left-leaning alternatives to offer, but just even though it's still neoliberalism, but at least they have this kind of illusion of a choice.
Sure.
And like this is, and it just makes this clear that this is not working. I think this is kind of an essential problem of neoliberalism, is that it needs to give you the illusion of choice, even if it's just the same. And this hasn't seemingly happened because Joe Biden is not an alternative to Donald Trump.
Yeah.
It's just, he's just less orange and more incomprehensible.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really help us. So you literally came to the point that South Park was making fun of. Like, you literally have now only the choice between two bad options, and I don't know what to pick. Like, even I, if I would be a leftist in the United States, wouldn't know what to vote at all. Like, it's like I don't know what to do.
I would vote green. I would genuinely vote green.
Yeah, that's probably a good choice, but still, it's like the problem with that is, of course, voting third party is bananas.
Yeah, it's not about winning. It's about a statement of like, we will not back the DNC no matter what. Like, you can't just expect that young people and people on the left are just going to fall in line. That's what it's about.
Yes.
Whatever I did, I would definitely not vote for fucking Joe Biden, you know?
No. But I think the problem is that this kind of part of the narrative has not arrived yet. I think people are not aware that they can offer this as a Green Party, as the Green Party as a choice. Because if we would like stir this up, like saying like, don't vote for Joe Biden or Donald Trump, vote Green Party. If we would make clear that this is the opportunity they have, because a lot of people are not aware of this choice in the first place.
Yeah.
Because they only see this duality, that they have a more wider choice. That's really the problem, because I didn't thought about this at all. Like, what should I vote? Was my question. I was like in this, and I was in the same headspace, but I couldn't get out of this duality of Biden or Trump. And you just said Green Party, and I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Why would we do this? And everybody's only talking about voting for the Democrats because that's the only option they have, and I'm like, I don't think so.
Well, yeah, like, the problem here is that people are still under the impression that in this election, they should be fighting to win, or that there's anything to win. It's like, no, the fight to win happened in the primary with Bernie. At this point, it's just, okay, what kind of result can we like pull out of this? That's it. That's the only discussion at this point.
So, and I think, and I think giving a hit to the Democratic Party in that should make this very clear. On the flip side, it could also legitimize the Green Party in a sense.
Yeah, and that would be like, yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, that
it,
would be a good step.
in the very unlikely event that it could like put a bit of a tick into the two-party system somehow. Like, yeah, sure, you've got nothing to fucking lose. Like,
I mean, just think about this. What if let's assume America is actually split quite in the middle. Like, let's assume that this is the case, 50-50.
sure,
So what if 50% of the Democrats just decide, nah, we vote Green Party.
yeah,
Sure, it wouldn't be a win for the Democrats or the Green Party, but it would showcase suddenly that the Democrats need to get their asses set on fire and do something.
yeah, absolutely. The play then for the Democrats would be to like try to recuperate as much of the Green Party policy as they can. They'd say,
Right.
oh, people are going for this, who are like clearly to the left of us, not by like a crazy amount, but they are, and who are prioritizing like these ecological policies. So they would probably, if they wanted to ever win, which looking at Joe Biden is something I am curious about, then that's the discussion they would have to have at that point.
Yeah.
But I just remember that this is all moot because actually you should vote for Kanye. He announced he was running. You gotta vote for Kanye.
Well, yes, of course.
Absolutely.
That's the only valid choice here.
I
mean,
hope he does.
He's still more comprehensible than Joe Biden.
I would genuinely take him over either of them. He's just a dumbass. He's not like a seasoned war criminal or fucking.
I mean, it depends how he sets up his staff, because I'm pretty sure it could be a play ball to anybody who gets power under him.
Yeah, fuck knows. Like, genuinely, who the fuck knows what he would do?
Yeah, in my opinion, you could really easily manipulate or say like, yeah, he's completely out of whack. We need to shadow cabinet this kind of thing. Basically, would end up in like a Bush Jr. situation where you have Cheney like embarrassingly control everything.
Well,
And-
he's running as an independent, which is interesting because like what you're describing kind of happened. Kind of happened with Bush Jr. It kind of happens with Trump. Like the Republican machinery kind of does its thing, but he wouldn't have that. So it's like, what the fuck would happen?
I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know. I have no idea what happened. I mean, worst case scenario, the Kardashians take over the White House and oh no, that sounds actually terrifying.
Kardashian. Just like shitty celebrities now run the country. Honestly, that would be peak America, to be fair.
Yeah.
Scrussel
Oh my
says
God.
from his announcement tweet, it sounded like he wants to create a theocracy. Fucking yeah, hell yeah, theocracy, but with like Kanye as a vague
I mean-
deity. That would be
Yeah, sure. I vote for Black Jesus.
for Black.
Sure.
Hell yeah, yeah. He's pretty incomprehensible in his own way. It's hard to really be sure what the fuck he even thinks about anything.
I just would find it hilarious if Keeping Up with the Kardashians would be then, recorded in the White House. That would be just too funny for me.
Yeah, I want him to, just like me and all of my like weird celebrity grifter friends. Let's do it.
Just, oh man, that would be too much. But yeah, Kanye, that's the choice we need.
I think so. I hope he sticks with it. Because I feel like odds are he's just gonna like make this announcement as a publicity stunt, and then he won't even be there in November. I hope that
don't
he
think
fucking
so.
sticks to it.
I don't really think so, because Kanye is anything but he sticks to his guns. Like, this is like, if you look at the history of Kanye, he sticks to his guns. He stays with that. He will stay course and will make it the best that he possibly can out of it. That's the attitude he has. Like,
Does he? I mean,
nobody-
he was being like a Trump guy like a few months ago, and then he was just like, actually, no, not that anymore.
I don't know. I think he had his awakening about what the Trump policy really means for black people in America, and maybe he had his rude awakening.
Is it possible that he's just incredibly dumb? And
It
so
is
he just like
possible.
he just figured it out like near the end of his presidency. He was like, "Wait a minute. I don't think this guy's on the up and up."
I think so. Maybe it's just slow. It's not impossible.
Maybe. I
mean,
don't know.
I love Kanye. I love him. because somebody has to.
I mean, he's quite a
But
popular artist. I think a lot of people love
that's
him.
true. That's true. It's like, yeah. I mean, his music is actually pretty interesting. So it's not that you know I have to criticize him for that.
Yeah.
But it's very clear that he is a very controversial and weird person, and maybe he is just a bit slow on the uptake, and maybe he just realized this. Maybe he thought that this wouldn't affect him, but I think a lot of people didn't think this would affect them, and now the streets are on fire. You know.
Oh yeah, I guess that's another angle on it. Is people who are somewhat insulated by their wealth, thinking, this doesn't matter. Then as things get more and more intense, being like, I don't know if I'm safe.
Yeah, and I think this is a combo for Kanye, you know, like maybe he really thinks he's not really safe, but also he has this connection. He knows where he's still coming from, and maybe he's reconnecting with that. And it's like maybe this is really just his wake up call, and maybe he truly is the president of the United States we need.
I hope he wins. Fuck it. I hope he wins. You know what? I'll tell you what. Trump and Biden, neither of them have ever dropped a decent fucking album in their lives.
Yeah.
Haven't done it. Probably can't. Like, no contest.
I mean, Trump couldn't even drop a leg, so.
He couldn't drop what?
A leg.
Drop a leg. I don't get it.
He's a figure in wrestling, actually.
Oh shit! Yeah, Trump has taken on so many manifestations. I just fucking forget about all the things he's been.
That's true. It's like it's very weird. But yeah, he was a big figure in wrestling, and Wannabe McMahon's was actually part of his staff, and that went exactly nowhere.
Right.
What is weird, you know, you're like making a big deal about Linda McMahon being part of a Trump administration and Vincent Kennedy McMahon having the biggest politics boner in his life. and then it's like nothing. Just nothing.
Yeah.
Too much dealing with Saudi Arabia, I think.
Probably.
So yeah. But yeah, it's like that amounted to absolutely nothing. So yeah. But again, Trump is not a good wrestler because he couldn't even drop a leg.
Couldn't even drop a fucking leg. Pathetic. I'm not afraid to say it. Worst wrestler in the game.
Like, not a true American, I tell you.
Not a true American.
No.
Not like racist, strike-breaking Hulk Hogan. That's a true American right there.
Like, Oh god, I remember the American Dad episode very bearded.
Oh, was Hulk Hogan on American Dad?
Yeah, he is the punchline to an episode centered around the working class, actually.
I see.
And in the end, he just appears, punches a lot of rich dudes, and afterwards just disappears. Pushes a button on his wristwatch. His clothes disappear, and he just goes into the sunset.
Man, I wish that was Hulk Hogan instead of the real Hulk Hogan who just sucks.
You know, I wished he would stand up for the American working class.
Yeah.
That would be.
We'll
really
see.
Cool. But no. He's just making racist comments because he doesn't want that his daughter dates a black man, and I'm like, fuck that.
Yeah, he's like old school racist. It's like, Hogan, why are you still in the public spotlight? You don't know how to live in this world anymore.
I still can't believe he has a sex tape of himself. Like, oof.
I believe it.
I mean, I believe it. It's just I don't want to believe it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's like, it's kind of weird. But yeah, that's how it goes. I have always cheered for foreign heels, so.
So, in order to curtail the risk of getting into wrestling here, are there any other things you wanted to go into about accessibility in games?
I think there's not much to say. I think it's actually a very straightforward topic. I think it's just that people don't talk about it too much.
Yeah, I think that's the most interesting thing about it, is how kind of uncomplicated it really is. Just fucking do it.
It's not that hard.
Yeah.
It's similarly to the problem of how do we solve world hunger? Maybe distribute the food effectively.
Yeah, it's
It's
super easy,
not
bitch. You
that
just don't want to.
it's not that complicated.
Yeah,
But we
yeah.
make it complicated. Because we need to attach like 6 different strings to it.
Yeah.
It's like it's just not good. I'm not a marionette. I don't need strings. I actually need oil. So that my prosthetic doesn't squeak.
Oh yeah, you gotta keep that boy lubricated. You gotta keep lubed up. Absolutely
Yeah.
gotta. Hell yeah. What games do you think did like a good job with accessibility? Like some sort of standouts. It's like, oh, they fucking nailed it. You know?
I mean, I can't really tell much. I mean, I can say that some games really want to. I mean, this is kind of. I really can't tell you actually. It's like,
That bad?
yeah, it is really that bad. It's
Right.
like, I mean, how many games give you basically the option of a debug menu to just adjust the difficulty? The answer is very little. Like, I have played many games where I had to install mods to do everything. So, in-house accessibility is something that is like nearly non-existent to this
Right.
day. You can get some colorblind modes. You can get some. You can get some options, and the worst part, of course, is also that sometimes you need specialized hardware. Like some people just need specialized hardware.
Yeah, and fuck me if something is like an accessibility accessory, I guess, it'll automatically cost like 5 times what it should, you know?
Yeah, and at that point we come to functional non-existence.
Yeah,
Because hey,
precisely.
if it doesn't benefit all, it might just as well not exist.
Yeah,
And if
exactly.
we can't afford it, it's not a factor.
Yeah.
That's the reason. That's the reason why I'm so afraid of Microsoft taking the helm in this, because they might develop some cool controller that everybody can use and customize, but probably costs like the same cost of a regular console.
Yeah.
And I'm like, at that point, I'm like, no, it's not going to help us. We need something accessible for us all.
Yeah.
So if you don't have a controller that from house is like reconfigurable with all of the parts already needed, that I can basically turn it into whatever I need, then I don't see any kind of reason or purpose in that. But nobody would develop something like that because there's so many moving parts. It would break all the time if we don't invest like effective production quality. And I'm like, you're just thinking of profit, don't you? You're just thinking of profit.
Well, yeah.
Don't think about profit. Think about how you help the people.
Yeah, and I mean this really goes into the biggest thing that's always going to come up against accessibility is, and I think in my video about the social model, I think I state this explicitly a couple times. We disabled people don't win when it's just them against profit in the minds of someone whose job it is to maximize profit. It's just, we're hitting our heads against the fucking wall at that point, and it's just not going to happen. The underlying social conditions that made it so easy to ignore us have to be addressed.
Yep, that's clear and important to the statement.
Yeah.
On the flip side, we have this wonderful thing of people believing we could, heal disability. What is funny to me.
Yeah. Well, it's funny till they try it,
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, ooh, this is getting real fucking dark, real fucking fast.
Because you don't know what door you kick off. You kick open with that.
Yeah, no
We
doubt.
don't really know what kind of hoops we have to jump. Let's assume we can make the human machine interface work and build our cyborg technology. I'm not sure if I'm willing to sacrifice that much humanity just so I don't have to wear a prosthetic leg.
Yeah.
It's kind of, is that a step too far? And I'm like kind of a transhumanist in that sense. So I can tell you, like, while I would be willing to do some of that stuff, I'm not sure how hard it would be for some to jump through that loop, and also what it costs, because under capitalism there would always be a cost factor attached to it. So you could say, oh yeah, we have already solved this kind of disability, and I'm like, yeah, but I can afford it. So does it really exist?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, yeah, that's the thing is affordability is everything. If you can't afford it, then who fucking cares? And I get I know a lot of people who tried to push back on my suggestion that kind of disabled people's liberation is tied to ending capitalism. A lot of people were like, "Oh, what about like this or this like cool technological development that we've developed?" And it's like no one has that though. Like that's not like I couldn't go to the doctor like if I needed it, I couldn't go to the doctor and like get it on the NHS. Like you have to be rich or it doesn't fucking exist. So
Yeah,
who gives a fuck? Like that's not useful.
The only few people that will ever get that kind of technology are A, the people who are very rich, or B, the people who are willing to let their bodies be experimented on to get this technology running in the first place.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that are ironically often the family members of those who design these kind of tools.
Yeah.
So you see also this weird kind of nepotism going on there.
That's true,
Or,
yeah.
and listen, it's not that I don't want that these people have this, but it's kind of like if I develop something like that, maybe make it as accessible for as many people as possible.
Yeah, accessibility right now has such absurd class characteristics to it.
Like
It's
it's not.
yeah, I'm exasperated by how many people still try to talk about disability without talking about class. You simply can't. You just
You
cannot.
absolutely can't. It's
No.
impossible.
Yeah.
But trying to get that in the heads of the people who have lived in neoliberal spaces for all their lives.
Well, yeah, yeah, it's
Like even the people that I grew up with in
yeah.
in schools with schools about of the disabled would have a hard time wrapping their head around that because they already got this option from the public healthcare system. But the problem with that is that the public healthcare system only is willing to pay for so much. Like very little disabled people will get high-tech prosthetics or anything like that. They will only get what they need
Yeah.
because anything beyond that is something they have to finance themselves. So even public healthcare options still have to either get on the horse of having these high technologies or or we just don't. Like, what does it matter? In the end, this is kind of the question. Do we adapt ourselves or do we don't adapt ourselves? It's like, why?
Yeah, like even obviously, it's better to have a national health service
Yeah.
than not have it. But like a lot of people I know in the UK, they've, like I know someone who's missing a leg, and her prosthetic leg is like it's not good. It doesn't seem. It seems like she has a lot of problems with how it fits. Like it's always really fucking up her. I don't know what to call it. Like leg stump, I guess.
Yep.
And also I knew someone who needed like a wheelchair to get around, like an electric wheelchair, and it was like taken out of their like disability benefits to finance it.
Yep.
So like yeah, technically the state did pay for it, but really you paid for it. Like it's coming out of your fucking pocket.
It's at your expense.
Yeah.
And that's just a terrible thing. Also, I think your friend with a missing leg is just suffering from standard parts issues. It's like one of the things that I learned with working with the people in the field is that if you don't get these things custom made for yourself, there will be always issues because depending on how a leg is shaped and
Right.
how it, for example, amputated, there's so many different aspects and there's so many different schools of that. There is no uniformity and there is not a possibility for uniformity because the reasons why you, for example, take a leg are very different and the places you pick. And the result is that you cannot work with standardized parts in many cases unless you have like an intelligent material, what we don't really have right about now.
Yeah, you can't take a one size fits all approach to a fucking leg. Yeah.
So I think your friend is just suffering from a standard parts issue. Actually, I have talked about this with experts on the field, and there are some interesting solutions for that with intelligent material. There's some, for example, some kind of gel that has the consistency of like silicon. You know how you use it for your home. in that specific case.
Right.
And the wonderful thing about this gel is that it only takes on this condition if electric current is run through it for one time. It basically changes through an electric current from a semi-liquid state to a hard state, so to speak. And we theorized we could use such a material to fashion a really working one-size-fit-all approach. Because what you would do is just present a general standard model. You fill it you fill it with that specific material, and can fit it on demand directly where you need it. Like you just pull out the electric machine that you need, the contacts, put it in, and bam, it fits. Just have to adjust, maybe the length of the leg and stuff like that, and this could work.
Right.
And it would be also possible to make that potentially cheap with effective production mechanizations, because that could be mass produced in that case, because you only need to have a fill of that liquid.
Right.
So that's really good. So if you can get that to, as we say, if you can produce something like that under the mythical $100 price, if you can get below that, you could make it accessible for a lot of people in the world.
Yeah.
Because that is still a number of money that people can have.
What would
But
you
as
say
of
is the main reason that this isn't currently being done, do you think?
Because you would have to set up a whole new industry.
Right, yeah, the manufacturing infrastructure just isn't there then.
Yes, the infrastructure is not there, because prosthetic leg construction is custom. It is often a custom-made business.
Right.
And switching that would be hard. On top of that you couldn't remove the custom-made aspect of it, because that would only work for some simple limbs, but not for like the larger aspects, like fitting up specific options and very specific elements. So you would have like people who need other replacements, or needed to have it adjusted for certain aspects, like maybe they have a problem with their equilibrium and cannot walk effectively without certain adjustments. In that case, that product would be pretty useless for them, and you would have to go back to the custom tailor process. But then you don't have that if you establish an industry like that.
Right.
You basically have this kind of problem where it is a very individualized problem, but to solve it with a mass production would be complicated and would remove the part that makes it custom made. And then you have standard parts issues that you might not be easily solvable, because hey, who's investing in an industry that already exists to make it even better, to make it custom?
Yeah.
Then you don't need to. You know?
Yeah.
So you basically would, in a sense, exaggerate the issues of capitalism and the production here.
So that's another good look at why, again, better options are out there, but our needs simply conflict with the market logic that we kind of run everything with.
Yes, the market logic is the problem here. Like, if we didn't have that, we could set up like simultaneous options. Like, we could make a factory that produces on demand these kind of things, and have somebody who cares for the more individualized problems at the same time. Because hey, we don't need to pay for that. We have that because we have communism.
Yeah.
So, but that's kind of a problem. It's still an issue of redistributing resources and access. And it's just baffling to me that we still haven't figured this out after all that time. But the problem is not that we haven't figured it out. It's the fact that we stand ourselves in the way of moving forward.
Yeah.
Progress has been halted for generations because we can't seemingly step out of this mind prison.
Yeah, the future's been kind of trying to be born for quite a while now, and it's starting to get pretty pissed off about it, I'd say.
I can only imagine how much of a golden age we would have if we get rid of capitalism. Like, oh man, so much options.
Well,
so
yeah,
much things.
And it's a lot like the move, out of feudalism into capitalism. This guy's gonna fucking kill me. I'm just gonna walk by him. Is he just gonna let me?
I don't know.
Is he going for my ship? There's one chest on it, punk. Sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's a lot like when we moved, from feudalism into capitalism. Like the quality of life increased, the sort of like resources and fucking medicine and shit that we started to develop. The food diversity. Like there was such a massive increase in quality of life. And that's kind of what happens when you move to a better way of organizing society. And I would say that capitalism is like a step up from fucking feudalism. Fair enough to it. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
that is the Marxist position, that this was, this was a progress. The old bourgeoisie was a progressive force in feudal time. So it's like, yeah, imagine that again, but probably even more dramatic, because like productive forces are developed to a degree that early capitalists and certainly feudal society simply couldn't even fucking comprehend
Yeah.
at this point.
I mean, I cannot fathom if we see a similar, if not even more, development after that. I mean, think about it. From feudalism to capitalism, we still had many limits put upon us because of capitalism, but without it, like, all bets are off.
Yeah,
It's like, wow, I can't fathom this. This is so goddamn bright.
yeah.
I'm blinded by the options. Do you try to make a friend right about now?
Yeah, he gave me a book. Sell it in the tavern. Okay, I got like a chest here. It's kind of... All right. Yeah, someone just gave me a book. I'm gonna go try to sell it, I guess.
Maybe gamers aren't the worst people in the world.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves. We'll see.
Yeah, maybe this is like one of these books that you sell that everybody hates you afterwards.
Where is the tavern? Oh, I think it's over
like-
here. Okay.
Maybe he gave you the equivalent of Atlas Shrugged. Like, if you try to sell it, like, what the hell is this shit?
Yeah. I'm gonna show up in the tavern, and they'll just be like, "What the fuck you doing bringing that in here?"
It's like,
Yeah.
hey boss, I found this book. It's called Atlas Shrugged. What do I do with it?
It's got a lot of big ideas. See?
I don't know. I think I said it best. The only effective use of Atlas Shrugged is to kill pigs with it.
All right. With that. Yeah, why not?
One of
Sure.
I mean, one of the upsides is that it's so large you can spot it from a mile away.
It's fucking enormous. It's God, Rand could really write while saying shockingly little of substance. She's a visionary, I would say.
Yeah, I have never seen somebody who has. I've really never seen an author who can put less substance into their work than Dan Brown, but she did it.
Yeah, she's just like an incredibly shitty writer. I think that doesn't get said about her enough. She's a catastrophically bad writer. People rightfully focus on her bad ideas, but like, fuck, oof, you know.
She had this weird style of like how we imagine a fascist speak to be written down, like where she's like preaching to us in the loudest tone. I can even hear her in my damn head when I read anything of her.
Yeah.
Like she's shouting at me, often combined with the fact that she whips me and just says work faster. It's certainly not the kind of fun that I experience.
Well, we're starting to get into a different kind of dream now.
No, I would never have that. Like this is one of the worst parts about Ayn Rand. Like she's not only a bad author and has bad ideas, but she also was never hot. like this is the worst part of thing, you know?
Truly, her worst crime, I think we can all agree, is that she never served up them looks.
It's like there's so many shitty authors that at least have a decency to look like something.
At least they can be fine. Fucked up. And the fascists all look like pig shit. That's the thing about them. It's very sad. I don't know why. Don't know what makes them that way. But it's true. Man, this boat's pretty fucked up.
Well, yeah, that's the that's a big takeaway, I would say.
Yeah, fascists look like shit. That's the. Well, I think I'm getting to be about done for tonight. Are there any sort of final things you wanted to go over while we're gathered here?
The don't touch yellow snow.
Don't touch yellow snow. Yeah, but do remember it because you're probably not going to be seeing much of it ever again pretty soon.
Yeah, apparently. What's ironic? Yellow snow is libertarian snow. It's
Libertarian.
pissed.
It's the most free of all snow.
Sure, they can have that if they want to. But they have a freedom to get it if they want to.
Yeah. I'm
So,
gonna before we go, I'm gonna try to sneak onto these guys' boat here. See if I can take something.
I don't know. You don't need to be a bad guy. They gave you something. Just say hello and say like give him a nice greeting.
I'm waving.
like-
I'm waving at him.
Yeah.
He's got his gun out. I'm noticing.
I mean, sure.
Hey, there we go.
See, we made friends today.
We're making friends. I'm gonna keep waving. See if he turns his back, and I'm gonna try to take a chest.
Be careful. This is a third-person game. It's very easy to see that. Looks more like a waving contest.
I ain't gonna stop. Oh, he's got his sword out now. I think he's just gonna stand there. He doesn't trust me.
I don't know. This could end up in like a hippity hoppity get off my property situation.
Maybe. Yeah, I'm just chilling,
He's
bro.
following you. He's following you.
I'm just looking around. I'm not looking at those chests. I'm looking over here. I'm looking at the wheel. I'm looking at the flag.
It's like a game of hot potato. He's like, you're eyeing it, and it's like, oh boy, this could end badly.
The fuck, they're coming.
Just throw it onto the shore and run away.
I'm handing it in. I'm fucking handing it in. I'm fucking handing it in. Ah! All right, all right.
That's the right moment to log out.
Done. I don't think they tried that hard to stop me.
Well, with that, we have a griefing part of a video done.
Boom. Really, that's what video game is all about. It's about causing misery in the world, I think. I think that's why we made video games a thing. I don't think they really gave a shit. It's fine.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one chest. It takes a bit of time. It's nothing.
Absolutely.
Again, this is actually one of the great parts of video games, because video games allow us to enjoy the good parts of capitalism in a fun sense without hurting anybody.
Exactly. That's the beauty of Sea of Thieves. It's
And that's the only way how capitalism should exist in our world.
Yes. In Minecraft.
Yes.
All right, man. Well, I think we best call it a night then. Thanks for coming on. It was good to talk about an aspect of video games that I don't think gets a lot of attention, except from people trying to talk shit.
Yeah. So yeah, was fun being here. It's always nice. We should do that more often.
Hell yeah! Well, you know where to find me. Is there anything you want to plug while you're here?
Follow me at KnightmareAlpha on Twitter. That's the best thing I can do right about now.
All right, cool. Yeah, follow him on Twitter and think on Skittles.
Yes.
Make sure you pay respects. And
See you, chat.
exactly. Always pay respects. Always be pressing F when you can't see Skittles anymore because the stream is ending. But yeah, I'll be back next week with more System Shock. So thank you everyone for watching, and have a good night.